So we go to October, November, paper 2. The Russia struggle for economic recovery. Basically, when we talk about economic recovery, we're talking about an economy that is already witnessing recession. So it has to recover before it starts witnessing another boom. That is what it means. I think you got the point of economic recovery here. Okay. So we just go to the question immediately. Let's say calculate using the information in table 1, the percentage change in the price of oil between 2010 and 2016. We'll go back to the table. From 2010, in 2010, the oil price was 82 per barrel, and in 2016 it's 37. So the difference between them is 37 minus 82 over 82 multiplied by 100. So the change is 37 minus 82 over 82 multiplied by 100. It gives us 54.87%. That's the percentage change. It's decrease anyway. Yeah, it's negative. So question 2. They said, explain using the information from the extract 2 reasons for falling oil prices. Before we even go to the extract, a fall in price would have been as a result of excess supply. Did you get the point? Excess supply would lead to a fall in price. Excess supply will lead to a fall in price. An increase in competition might also lead to what? A fall in price. So let's check the case study. So for the case study, I said 2 things here. I said excess supply. So we can link excess supply to Saudi Arabia increase oil production, which means supply increases. Because here in the, let me see, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the 5th paragraph, they said, as an oil producer, Russia's economy was affected by falling international oil prices. Saudi Arabia, the world's 2nd largest oil producer, continued to increase oil production despite pressure by other producers to cut production. So the price of oil continued to rise. The price of oil continued to fall because the supply of oil increases in the market. So we call them Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. So there's pressure from OPEC to reduce, for all oil producing countries to reduce the supply or their production, which Saudi Arabia is not listening to, turn a deaf ear to. So this increases output. This increases supply of oil into the market. So prices will continue to fall. OPEC wants to reduce supply so that the price of oil would rise again. But they are unable to do that because Saudi Arabia continues to improve or increase its output. That's the first one. Is it clear, please? The second one, increase in competition. That means there's increase in the competition of substitute goods to oil. That's renewables. So here they said, I think in the top graph, let's see, the 50. See here, I'm trying to find Eve out. They said, questions from the producers. Positions, trying to find the substitute here. We talked about domestic consumption and investment. Okay. Okay, let's see. Also concerned about the energy renewables. Okay, yeah, they said they also, okay, here they said Russia oil producers struggle to make a profit due to economic uncertainty and competition from renewable energy. So there's always substitute for oil. So an increase in substitute will also lead to a fall in price. I think that is clear. So go to C. They said, identify using the information from the extracts 2 ways the central bank could try to stop a fall in the international value of its currency. A fall in the international value of the currency means that the currency of the country is depreciating or being devalued. It's depreciating, okay? So here we look at the central bank. They said the second paragraph, no, the third paragraph, no, the second, they said to avoid further outflows of financial capital from the Russian economy and further falls in the value of the Russian ruble, the Central Bank of Russia increased the official interest rate to 17%. So the first way or the first measure a central bank of a country could take or a central bank of an economy could take to make its currency appreciate, or to make its currency to have value, is to increase the interest rates. So by increasing the interest rate, it means the amount of money paid, or the amount of currency out of the country would reduce. So people will start keeping such currency in the banks to enjoy the benefit of high interest rates. So money in circulation would reduce. So you wouldn't have much capital, much revenue or currency with you, or much cash with you to exchange for foreign currencies. So the demand for foreign local currency will increase, and that would add value. Because the demand has increased, the value of the currency would rise. That was the first reason. So I wrote increase in the interest rate, which I just explained. And two, it said the ruble fell even more. Okay, then the central bank considered selling its foreign reserves to raise the exchange rate against the US dollars. So by selling your foreign reserves, it means that you are buying your own currency. So when you buy your currency, that means you are taking it out of the hands of foreign banks to have it with you. So that will make your currency be scarce on the market, and that could add value to your currency. Is it clear? We go to question D. It said, explain using information from the extract 2 reasons for Russia's declining population. Population can decline through natural cause, which is either birth rate or birth rate. So the population can increase or decrease through natural cause, which is either death rate or birth rate. And it can also be through migration, which can be immigration or emigration. I think you're clear, right? So yeah, they said based on the extract, Russia's declining population is as a result of high death rate due to poor health system. So there's poor health system in the Russian economy. So the Russian government is not spending so much on health sector. So that's declining the health declining the health of people. So people get, when you don't have proper healthcare services, people might die. So low fertility rates, the birth rate is reducing. So the country is witnessing high death rate and low fertility at the same time. That means those that are dead are not being replaced by newborn. Do you understand? So this will decline the population of the economy of the country. Is it clear? And another one is high level of emigration. They said a lot of people are leaving the country to seek for better employment opportunity abroad. So that would decline the economy. So emigration, high level of emigration is also happening. Is it clear? We go to E. They said, analyze the extent to which a rise in oil prices will cause inflation. A rise in oil prices will cause inflation due to the following reasons. Number one, a rise in the prices of oil. A rise in the prices of oil will mean that prices might, a rise in the price of oil will mean that the cost of production will rise. What I'm saying is this: if oil prices increases, firms, industry that uses oil will witness a high cost in their production cost, high cost in their production. So a high cost in production would lead to them increasing the prices of their products, leading to cost push inflation. So a rise in the prices of oil will increase the cost of transportation, because most means of transportation is through oil. So a rise in the prices of oil will increase the cost of transportation. Increasing the cost of transportation would affect air transportation, sea transportation, road transportation, rail transportation. And all these things are about trade, import and export. So prices of import and export might also what? Rise. Inflation. Is it clear? The third one, a rise in the price of oil might have been as a result of shortage of oil in the market. So if oil is short in the market, if there's shortage of oil in the market, the demand for oil will be more than the supply of oil. That would lead to a demand pull inflation. So here we talk about the cost push inflation, we talked about import inflation, and we've talked about demand pull inflation. So these are the causes of inflation. Is it clear? So we go to F. They said discuss whether or not increasing taxes on the Russian oil producers will be harmful to those producers. Increasing taxes on Russian oil will be harmful to the producers. Why? Because already the Russian producers are struggling to make profits, and now you are increasing taxes. That means that means the amount they pay on their corporate, the amount of corporation tax would have increased. So that means they will be witnessing a fall in their profits. A fall in profit is not good for the business. 1. 2, they might need to cut production because they're not making profit. They might want to cut production, and cutting production will mean that they have to reduce the number of workforce. Reducing the number of workforce will lead to unemployment in the economy. Is it good for the economy? It's not even good for the business or anybody. Is it clear? We'll go to G. Identify one way in which monetary policy differs from fiscal policy. You just have to give the definition of monetary policy and fiscal policy. What is monetary policy? Monetary policy is the use of interest rates or money supply to manipulate or to control the economy. Then for fiscal policy is the use of taxation or subsidies to control or to manipulate the economy. Is it clear? We go to H. They said, discuss whether or not the Russian government should have been concerned about the state of the Russian economy in 2016. Yes, they should. Why? Because 1, based on the case study, it said Russia already is witnessing a negative economic situation. Russia is witnessing a decline in their economy. That means that Russia is witnessing recession. And when you are witnessing recession, it means your economic activity is falling. So you should be concerned as a country. You should be concerned as part of the government. So the government should be concerned because the economy of Russia is witnessing a fall in economic activity, which is recession. Recession will lead to unemployment. Yes or no? And if there's unemployment in an economy, what happens? It will increase the poverty rate in the economy. Okay. So that's the first thing I talked about. 2, rising inflation. They said there's inflation, a rising inflation rate in the economy. That was why the Russian economy is trying to increase the interest rate. Because when there's inflation, increasing interest rate would solve inflation. How? At that point in time, people will stop buying. Rather, they start saving more. And that will mean, so rising inflation, we talked about that. So government would want to reduce inflation by increasing interest rates. How do they do that? Government wants to stop demand pull inflation, because when interest rate increases, people will be motivated to save more money into the bank. They reduce their consumption, and reducing their consumption will make that they would not be buying more. So demand pull inflation would reduce. That is the second one. The third point is investors. Investors start lacking confidence in the Russian economy. And if investors are lacking the confidence, they lost the confidence in your economy, they would not come from abroad. They would not want to come. Then that reduces what? It reduces the potential, the production potentials of that economy. Is it clear? Any question about that? We move on. Question 2. Please read.
In 2016, there was a powerful surplus in the steel market, pushing down steel prices. This situation led to various calls for
protectionist measures
by other steel
producers
such as those in the EU,
European Union,
and the USA. However, such measures were not supported by car producers, as approximately 22% of the car manufacturers caused upon on steel prices.
Thank you. So car producers don't want to support that. Okay, so the first question says divine protectionism. So when we talk about protectionism, I wrote, it is the act of reducing the competition through trade restriction. The act of reducing competition through trade restriction. Is it clear? Then the second question says, explain 2 methods of trade protectionism. We can use tariffs, we can use quotas. So we have to explain it. So what are tariffs? Tariffs are importation, are taxes on imports. So those are tariffs. Then we have quotas, reducing the quantity of goods and services that could be imported into a country. So those are 2 methods of reducing, of imposing trade restriction. Question C. Analyze using the demand and supply diagram the effect of falling steel prices on the market. I drew the diagram already. But a falling price in the steel market, what will happen? It will mean that the prices of steel will fall from P2 to P1. At that point in time, the quantity supplied, that means steel manufacturers would cut their production. So that means the quantity supplied into the market will fall or will contract from Q2 to Q1, which means the supply curve will shift leftward from S2 to S1. Is it clear? It's drawn in the graph anyway. So at the end of it, we're going to have a new equilibrium. So we'll go to question D. Discuss whether or not protectionism is effective in raising living standards. I said yes, based on the following reasons. When there's protectionism, it means that local firms are able to increase their output as local consumption will rise. So that means we won't be able to import things into the country. So we have to do with the local production, the domestic production. And this is good for businesses because they will be able to increase their revenue. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So an increase in the demand for domestic products will increase the demand for labor and rise the wage rates. Why? If there's trade protectionism, the demand for domestic products will increase. Yes or no? As the demand for domestic products increases, domestic firms would want to meet up with the demand for their products. So they have to increase their production. And by doing this, they might have to employ more workers, increase the wage rate. An increase in wage rate will increase the level of income in the economy. And increasing the level of income will mean that goods and services will be affordable for people. Then the living standards will improve. Is it clear? Is it clear, please? We'll go to question 3. Please read.
Droughts in the Pacific Coast region of the U.S. and regulations in the form of limits on the amount of salmon that can be caught in the wild have reduced the supply of wild salmon. These limits were imposed to avoid market failure in the salmon market. However, the effect of this on the revenue of salmon producers is uncertain. In addition, producers of farmed salmon in the U.S. states of Washington and Alaska have received subsidies from the U.S. government.
Thank you. So divine supply. Supply is the amount of goods and services producers are willing to produce at a given price and time. I think that is clear. So they said, explain one market failure that may occur in the salmon market. What is market failure? Market failure occurs when the market forces for demand and supply becomes inefficient. That is market failure. Market failure also means that the cost or the social cost of production exceeds the social benefit of production. That is also market failure. Market failure also means that more negative externalities occurs in the cost of producing goods and services. So here I said 3 already, but I wrote one market failure that may occur in the salmon market is that the market forces may fail to allocate resources efficiently as a result of supplying less salmon to the market. When you supply less, it is market inefficiency. It means allocative efficiency, inefficiency. If you are supplying more, it's also a market failure because you are wasting resources. Is it clear? Second question, the third one. They said, analyze how information on changes in a firm's revenue can be obtained from price elasticity of demand calculation. So the first thing you have to do is define what price elasticity of demand is, which is the percent. It's the price elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness in the quantity demanded of a product as a result of a change in price. So whatever you get through your price elasticity of demand, if your final figure is 0, that means the demand for your product is perfectly inelastic. No matter what price you charge, the demand for your product, customers will still buy your product, and your revenue will increase. If your price elasticity is less than 1, it means the demand for your product is inelastic. You might still make little revenue. If it is infinity, that means it is price elastic, perfectly elastic. It means the change in price would affect the quantity demanded of your product. Your revenue will fall drastically. And if it is unitary, that means the calculations gives you 1. That means a change in the quantity demanded is equals to the change in the price of the product. So it is 1. Your revenue would not change. Your revenue would remain constant. Is it clear?
Mhm.
Any questions about that? We go to question 4, right?
So,
Question 4.
mm,
Read, please.
the Malaysian government implemented the Vision 2020 policy, which aims to make
No, we didn't finish D. Sorry, 4D, 3D.
Mhm.
Discuss whether or not government subsidies are beneficial to producers. I skipped that, sorry. What are subsidies? Subsidies are financial help from government to reduce the cost of production for firms. That's the first thing you have to say. Then, how is it beneficial? What are the benefits of subsidies to the producers? One, subsidies ensures firms are able to witness reduction in their cost of production. And when they are able to witness a reduction in their cost of production, it means they can enjoy or witness an increase in profits. Number one. They would be able to sell at a lower price because government has reduced their cost of production. So selling at a lower price would increase the demand for their products. Increasing demand for their products will mean that their revenue will rise. They will be able to operate on a large scale. And operating on a larger scale means that what? You enjoy economies of scale, reduction in the average cost of production. Is it clear? Is it clear, please? Any question about that? So go to question 4.
The Malaysian government implemented the Vision 2020 policy, which aims to make Malaysia a developed country by the year 2020. Along with this vision, the national privatization policy was also implemented, where various firms, such as those involved in telecommunications, were privatized. Poverty has significantly reduced since the implementation
of these policy measures. Thank you. So the first question says, identify the difference between absolute poverty and relative poverty. Absolute poverty means that you are unable to afford the basic needs. You are unable to afford food, clothing, shelter, which according to the, I think, the United Nations, it is, if you cannot spend, if you are unable to spend, if you cannot afford to spend around $1.5 a day, it means you are in abject poverty, which is absolute poverty. Then we have relative poverty. Relative poverty is a situation whereby fewer people are able to have few goods, like few goods can be afforded by fewer people. What I'm saying is this: it is relative poverty because you have few goods than me, you have few income than me, you can attain few services than me. Not that you can afford everything too, but you can afford better than me few. Do you understand? In respect to what you can afford, that is relative poverty. Is it clear? B, explain 2 characteristics of a developed country. A developed country is a country that is having high GDP per capita. It means that the GDP divided by the population is giving you high rate of income. So a country that is having a high GDP per capita will be considered as a developed economy. A country that is having high literacy rates will be considered as a developed economy. A country that is having highest population in the tertiary sector of the economy will be considered as a developed economy. A country that is having high employment rate will be considered as a developed economy. Any question about that? Go to C. It said, analyze 2 policies measures to alleviate poverty. Poverty can only be alleviated. It cannot be eliminated. You can only reduce it. So how to reduce poverty? It's the work of the government. Government could increase social benefits, such as unemployment benefits. So if government can increase unemployment benefits, it will mean that people, those that are unemployed, would have income and they will be able to afford the basic needs. So they will be moving from abject poverty to maybe relative poverty. Is it clear? 2, government should increase employment schemes, such as coming up with creating jobs, employing people into the government parastatals. That would reduce poverty. Another method is providing subsidies. Provision of subsidies will mean that goods becomes affordable for consumers. Then poverty will reduce. Using progressive tax. When you use progressive tax, it means that those that are making more income, more revenue, will pay more tax. And government can use that to redistribute income in the economy by reducing the gap between the rich and the poor. Is it clear? Is it clear, please? Go to question. That's the last one, right? And the last question now, D, 4D. Are you there with me, please? Are you here? D, they said, read D for me. For D.
Discuss whether or not moving firms from the public sector to the private sector will benefit the economy.
I said yes, privatization. I say yes to what? Privatization. What is privatization? Privatization means you are transferring government-owned property, government-owned businesses, government-owned assets to the hands of private individuals or firms. That is privatization. So I'm supporting that here. Why? One, privatization will benefit an economy more due to the following reasons. Number one, private sector firms are profit-oriented. Because they are profit-oriented, they will do differently. They want to be efficient. And efficiency is important. So, due to their profit motive, they will employ qualified workers. And when they employ qualified workers, they pay them, they pay them with higher wages. And that does what? That helps them to produce goods and services with quality. 3, privatization will increase competition, which may bring about more consumer choices and price affordability. And the last one, it may attract financial investments from abroad, which may increase the country's production potentials and output if there's privatization. Is it clear? Any question about it?